If I were to ask you this morning how many jobs the average person would have in his or her lifetime, what would you guess? Would your guess be 5 to 7 jobs, or perhaps 12 to 15? Or would you guess maybe 20 to 25? Well, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average worker currently holds 10 different jobs before the age of 40, and this number is projected to grow. Forrester Research predicts that today's youngest workers will hold between 12 and 15 jobs in their lifetime. Long gone are the days when a worker would stay with a company for 20 or 30 or maybe even 40 years and receive the proverbial gold watch at retirement. And at least in the United States, according to one source, the giving of gold watches at retirement originated in the 1940s with the Pepsi company. And it was a symbol: you gave us your time, so now we are giving you ours. And traditionally the watch was made of 18-karat gold, but different versions were given to workers according to their positions and status within the company. Clearly, workers of the 21st century will experience many, many career changes in their working lives. And I would argue today that today's gospel shows the ultimate career change. And we are very familiar with the story that we have just heard in the gospel. Jesus was on the Sea of Galilee and tells a professional fisherman, Simon, his Jewish name, to put out to the deep and lower his nets. And Simon must have been absolutely incredulous, for he had been fishing all night, and at nighttime the catches were usually the greatest. Yet he had caught absolutely nothing. But still, he does what Jesus tells him to do. And when his nets are raised, he is astounded by the yield brought about by Jesus' command. And he prostrates himself before Jesus and addresses him as Lord, a title that combines the elements of power and authority. And with their catch, the fishermen have witnessed the divine power at work in and through Jesus. And they are filled, we are told, with astonishment, bordering on fear, to which Jesus responds in a characteristic manner: do not be afraid. And usually when there is such an experience that fills the recipient with fear, as these fishermen were, the words of assurance are followed by some sort of commission. And this suggests that the commission is the point of importance, and it's certainly the case here today. Jesus does not provide the fishermen with an unbelievable catch merely to cancel the frustration of an unsuccessful night of fishing. The miracle performed became an acted out prophecy, revealing both his mysterious authority and the ministry to which they are being called. Jesus declares that a turning point in their lives has been reached, for the commission begins from now on. From now on. And the verb catching that is used is in the continuous sense, indicating it will be a habitual process. It will go on forever. And the astonishment of the fishermen turns to absolute commitment. And we would think that would be an irrational act, because they leave everything. They leave the catch that they just hauled in. They leave their business because they were partners, their livelihood, the stability of their homes and families and neighborhoods, and they followed him. And the word suggests a spiritual allegiance or discipleship. No questions asked, no hesitation, no protests. They followed him and became fishers of men. The call that is described here today is more than a summons to faith. It is a call to ministry. Isaiah is called in order to be sent. Here I am, send me. The fishermen are called in order to gather others to Jesus. And so it is with us today. Our call is not merely a call to a life of personal holiness lived in union with God. As important as this is, we are called by God to be sent out into the world to gather others. Our covenant with God is not a private affair. It is a communal reality. We belong to the people of God. We are members of the body of Christ. The faith has been handed down to us, and we in turn hand it to others. The moment has come for us to step forward and explicitly accept or refuse the call, and we are absolutely free to choose. But now is the moment of decision. As life-transforming as this call may be to follow Jesus and to be ministers or ambassadors, as Paul says, and it certainly changed the lives of the fishermen, as life-transforming as it may be, it comes to us in the ordinariness of our lives. Very few will experience the conversion and call that St. Paul did. But it may come to us in places like this, in our place of worship, and if we minister in the temple as Isaiah did. It will usually come to us as we wash our nets or wash our dishes, as we raise and teach children, as we prepare a brief for a trial or examine a patient, as we repair cars or work with computers. The call of God comes to us in the ordinariness of life. And if that means it's during plowing or plumbing, that is exactly where the call of God will be heard. God calls us, each and every one of us, wherever we are, not geographically, but spiritually, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. Therefore, we cannot protest that we are not qualified. If we look at this in another way, this call in the ordinary things of our lives, it sanctifies what otherwise might be deemed merely ordinary. God took on human flesh and human existence and human experience. And the incarnation implies that God uses ordinary people, places, and things to reveal the extraordinariness of God. And it is through us that God accomplishes extraordinary things. This morning, at this time and at this place, we are all called. And may we all echo Isaiah and say, "Here I am, Lord, send me."